Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler.
Good morning, Lock Shoppers. Welcome to a Grey Cup Monday installment of the Lock Shop presented by Play Alberta. Those codes again for the month of November. EST Sports, EST Casino. They each get you a $50 free bet. PlayAlberta.ca or make it easy for yourself and the Play Alberta app. Lieutenant Eric here with you one last time as Dustin Nielson on his way back from Grey Cup 112 in Winnipeg. He'll be back on tomorrow's The Nielson Show as well, 6 to 9, alongside myself, and back where he should be on the Lock Shop as well. Special Lock Shop tomorrow out in Devon, Boston Pizza as well for Ben Stelter Day. They'll be doing something for Ben Stelter out there. We will have live programming from 11 onward, so our normal programming all the way up to the end of the Reed Wilkins Show tomorrow, Devon, Boston Pizza. But until then, again, Dustin Nielson and Matthew Iwanek in transit, and they'll be returning sometime today. You got me today. You'll have Andrew Hustler Paterson out from Winnipeg Sports Talk as well, joining us in a bit. Anxious to get his thoughts and recap on the Grey Cup, and we'll talk the game, obviously, and the Riders lucking their way in, lucking their way to a first-place finish in the West, lucking their way into the best record overall in the CFL, lucking their way through a West final win against the BC Lions, and most outstanding player Nathan Rourke, and lucking their way to capturing the Grey Cup in a 25-17 victory over the Montreal Alouettes. That's a lot of luck. That's a lot of luck. But you got to be good to be lucky, I guess, in a sense. So they got it done yesterday. We'll be going into the guts of the game. But as mentioned, I want to get Hustlers. Last time I spoke with Huss was Friday on this very program. He was coming over. It was quite a week for Huss as he was getting over some sort of an illness, which nothing gets Huss down. A couple of DPs and hits from the vape will get him going. But he did say that an Uber would be waiting after Friday's Lock Shop to carry him into the Grey Cup party zone. And I'd like to get his thoughts on, Friday leading into Grey Cup weekend, that's where the rubber hits the road. And I just wanted his whole, a real tell-all, actually, of his weekend, what he kind of got up to. And then, of course, his thoughts on the game, and not just the game itself, but from the atmosphere, everything around Princess Auto Stadium down there as the Riders capture the Grey Cup in Winnipeg, of all places. Not so much talked about this year as opposed to Winnipeg having a chance to win the Grey Cup in Regina, which was talked about ad nauseum. Really, you couldn't really get out of that. If you are listening this morning, iHeart TuneIn Radio app, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, and of course on the YouTube, Nasty Chat's humming along. Remember, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We'll also be going over the Week 11 slate, recapping that, setting up a, I don't know if you'd call Monday nighter tonight between the Cowboys and Raiders, I guess a bit of a dessert. What dessert would you call it? Coming after Week 11 here. It should be interesting. We had Mike Tenier on earlier this morning. The Raiders are a mess right now, but if there's one team in the National Football League that can play down to a mess, it would be the Dallas Cowboys. So kind of an intriguing one tonight from Vegas between the Raiders and the boys. And of course, we'll have thoughts on that. And once again, recapping the Week 11 slate in the NFL. And of course, recapping Grey Cup 112, in which the Saskatchewan Roughriders capturing their fifth Grey Cup in franchise history, 25-17 over the Montreal Alouettes. I think, is Huss good to go? Yeah? Okay. He looks ready. Let's bring in Andrew Hustler Paterson, Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll, there we go. Studio audience, welcoming in. You're looking good.
For you, LTE.
Okay.
Clappings for you and Rider Nation today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're champions again. You must be fired up.
You know what? I on the morning show, I said I'm not going to do any. I wasn't coming in all hot and heavy. I mean, the local team here wasn't in the picture, so I get that. It is Saskatchewan, so I get that as well. But yeah, I had a fun time. A lot of things, when you have 5 in franchise history, and I've been lucky enough to be on this planet alive during 4 of them. I do remember 89, all but briefly in my parents' basement, and a lot of people with weird hairdos jumping up and down, to which I didn't realize at the time what the significance of it was, but it is pretty special to witness these things with people who are here. And I'll say this, a couple people close to us and my family that have left us recently, which this was a big one to get it over the line for some folks. So it means a lot. And I thank you, Huss. I know you and I have our friendly rivalry, you being a Bomber booster out there in Winnipeg. Look, I said before you joined us here, we'll get into the game and all that, and certainly have time to do. But I wanted your, because when we spoke Friday, and I know you were getting over a little something there, and good for you that you did kind of just in time for the heart of the weekend. But you said Friday after the show that you'd have an Uber running and waiting. And I just want to get your recap and feel free to go on Friday leading into Saturday and leading into Sunday. I mean, that is really that's the time where you want to be healthy and kind of kick it into high gear. So I trust that you let all the juices run down your face this Grey Cup weekend.
Yeah, I will say this. I, like many, could have benefited from a day off after the Grey Cup. I think we're going to get to the point in the States where the Super Bowl's the day before President's Day.
Yeah.
It would really be nice. And we're going to figure out where this schedule ends up. And maybe it's right in around Remembrance Day if it moves up a day before. But
yeah,
I mean, especially maybe just a mandatory civic holiday if you are a part of the host city afterwards.
Call it a Grey Cup Monday. We all get a stat, that type of thing.
Roll through it. But anyways, yeah, we finished the show on Friday. I headed down to a local watering hole, met up with a bunch of friends that were in town for the game. We hit the convention center, which was kind of the epicenter of the Grey Cup Festival.
Okay.
And took it all in. And it was phenomenal. I think I've probably been to now around 15 Grey Cups, give or take. Maybe a couple more, actually, now that I realize how old I am. This was flawlessly executed. Like, I will give credit and a pat on the back to everyone here in the city that put this one on. I mean, the organization where the Bombers are right now is the standard, much like the Riders now on the field. Off the field, it's what they've done around the football games. And this, I mean, it was incredible, Eric. Like, the passes for all the party houses were basically sold out a month in advance, if you can believe that.
Good. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, how is that possible? And you go down there and you realize, oh my God, like, these rooms are huge. The Friday night, I wasn't there on the Thursday when the Watchmen were playing, which is apparently a big, big night. People loved it. They had Alan Doyle.
Yeah.
Who's, I think he was in Great Big
C. Yeah.
So that's where the Touchdown Manitoba, like the bigger event was. And it was absolutely packed. I mean, Grey Cup vibes through the roof. Everyone loving it. Then checked out Riderville, Lion's Den, Spirit of Edmonton, a couple of the other spots in and around. And then finished it off with a closing shift at Shannon's Irish Pub, conveniently located right by the convention center for after the 1 p.m. close. And then, Saturday around the city to a couple of the other events. We actually did a party ourselves with, one of our sponsors down at Confusion Corner. That was an unbelievable time. Got a chance to see Dusty and Awanek. They popped by and then out. And then, I mean, yesterday for the game, there was so much stuff happening in and around. There was an indoor tailgate. There was, and the other thing about it, Eric, that I still can't believe is the weather was absolutely phenomenal for this time of year. I mean, even at the game, it was, frankly, it felt like maybe the second last home game of the year.
Yeah.
Like, it did not feel like the Grey Cup, and that just took it to another level. But it was a really proud week for Winnipeg. I mean, just as far as putting on the show, the people that set up the Grey Cup Festival, can't say enough about them. And then, as I tweeted out last night, all of that was fantastic. Now it's time to crown a champion. And we got a pretty wild football game that had some big time, all-time Grey Cup moments.
Yeah. And
I think a worthy champion, and obviously a great, great story with your guy, Trevor Harris, got to put in that final stamp on a Hall of Fame career with MOP in the Grey Cup and his first championship as a starter.
Yeah. I mean, lots to unpack. You mentioned, I think even from a neutral, you can look at that game and say that there were a lot of moments. I mean, it was back to forth. You got some scoring. I was mentioning it all week. I probably brought it up with you. I didn't want this game decided on any BS, like, any controversial, whatever the case is. I know the hamstring gate was a big thing. But, the two teams played at each other. And I think the two teams really brought their blueprints to the field and didn't really waver off of that. And then in the end, you saw just what you mentioned, Trevor Harris there. And again, people will look at the stat line and say, well, no touchdowns, just a pinch over 300 yards. But what we've talked about Trevor Harris all year has been that completion percentage. He goes off 23 of 27, setting a Grey Cup record. MLS, 10 targets, 10 grabs, over 100. Ouellette, a solid day on the ground. Defense came to play, causing some 4 total turnovers for the Alouettes. Clean ball from the Riders offense. And then you had, which is usually unheralded when you talk sexy football, but not to people who know football, and that was the Riders offensive line pretty much, keeping Harris upright, which if you're going to have a 39-year-old flamingo legs Trevor Harris, calling plays for you in the backfield, you need to keep him safe. And Logan Furland and the boys did that. So it was... I'm with you there. I think there's lots of places to go here. Turnovers, obviously. I mean, that'll win you or sink you, whether you're on the right ledger of that. And when it's 4-0, it's hard to look away. Especially, and we can talk quarterbacks, Harrison Alexander, but we had Jeff Hamilton on today too, and I brought up that it's kind of the quarterbacks, the 1Bs, and your Tommy Stevens and your Shea Patersons, in which, Tommy Stevens had a couple touchdown runs in, and when they brought him on board, the Roughriders, I mean, that was a key guy for short yardage. And when you look at Shea Paterson, I know you're a little familiar with him out in your neck of the woods too. And so are Rider fans, not necessarily a short yardage quarterback by nature or trade or stature, but that fumble, I mean, that in a big game with two of the best teams in the league, it's those small moments that really tell the tale.
Well, listen, it was turnovers that was the reason why Montreal didn't win the Grey Cup. I mean, I think we can safely say that, or at least made it much more difficult for the Riders. I mean, they did a better job taking care of the football, and I mean, more often than not, that's it. But yeah, listen, the Shea Paterson, like I don't know where you were at right there in your head at that point, but it had been 25-7.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes earlier.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's an 8-point game and they're on the 1-yard line. And it is basically, we're back to square one here.
And momentum shifted entirely to Montreal at that point. You mentioned with the lead.
The Riders were leaking oil at that time. And listen, there's as great of a team they are. I mean, in the moments, momentum is real. And listen, they're sitting there feeling probably like, oh, we felt like we had won this 10 minutes ago, and hold on a second, we're right there in the middle. We've got a football game that is back on. Like, just stop thinking about the party afterwards and bringing your friends down. Like, there's still more work to be done. And for the record, I hate, like, probably the thing that I think is the least entertaining part of the Canadian Football League is how many quarterback sneaks we get. Like, it's like the tush push CFL version where it's not quite as egregious as what the Eagles do, but it just happens so much more. So there was a little part of me that was happy that the big screw up of the entire thing was on taking the guy that got you there out and then bringing in the guy that doesn't do anything else, holding clipboard, and then just running for a yard and have it blow up in their face. But it was stunning, man. I mean, that was half a yard away. Well, you got
Stevie Scott. I mean, it's not even Davis Alexander sneaking that in or anything, but you got a guy in Stevie Scott who, I mean, I love the way he runs. I love how he's kind of built. I think he's elusive, but he's tough in that regard. And you're right. I mean, you're down there. You got the momentum. It's a case of, just give it to the guy that's been doing the work on the ground, which would have been Stevie Scott III. And again, if you have a quarterback such as a Strevler or a Stevens or somebody built for that situation, I entirely get the call. But and I mean that ultimately, I mean, Moss wasn't forced to do that. I mean, that's a choice to make. But I don't know why you wouldn't have not given it to your number 8 in the backfield there on that. And at the time, and as a long standing Rough Riders sufferer, I mean, I'll go back to Grey Cup 09, or I mean, you're up big. Me and my buddy in the Alouettes game, the 13th man, we were up big at his house, and we're like, and we were young. We didn't know any better. We said, this is much like, again, as you mentioned, up big. We go to our local Smitty's Lounge, and then things turned. But when when they were up that big last night, I tell you, my sphincter wasn't as tight as it was. That was the most stressful time for me, was when they had that big lead, because you knew in Montreal, they put up the stat on the television. I mean, they, for Grey Cups as they've been in this era that they've had with Moss at the helm, they have traditionally come back. I mean, they're a great team. It's a big game. It's a one-off championship. You can't count anybody out, but Montreal has done that before. They've been there, done that literally. And I was just looking at that lead, and I was like, even if it's 3 scores, I'm still feeling a little sheepish. But you mentioned momentum, and that's the whole thing. And Montreal had it all in their hand, and that fumble, man. And Tavon Campbell, good for him forcing it. Sales, I thought he had the pick, he had the fumble recovery there, which was huge. I thought he played a great game all night. But I also thought too, they cut to commercial. I said, well, the Riders are going to get the ball in the 1. They'll probably line up for a halfback draw 10 yards deep in the end zone and suffer a safety. And then they come back and the ball's on the 30 due to it. I mean, that's an inches call, where if that ball's recovered, a foot either way. I mean, that totally changes things there too.
Listen, it was a little. The Riders have had a lot of bad fortune over the years, and you mentioned the 13th man, maybe the most infamous end to a Grey Cup ever. I was there. I will never forget it as long as I live. And there was, I mean, not necessarily 13th man levels, but I mean, we were sitting around a bunch of Rider fans, and I mean, the stress levels, like, we were feeling it just being around them at that point.
Yeah.
And then, obviously there was no commercial break, so we're watching what's happening, and all of a sudden the refs are going like this, and it was the right call. I mean, they got it on the goal line, or a piece of it was in. So that is a lot like it's like getting an interception in the end zone. Yeah.
But by a hair. I mean, again, that's recovered a yard. Like, I'm not so sure the way the momentum is going, and they get the fumble. But when you're starting on if Montreal, and we're playing the ifs buts game here, but you get the fumble, you prevent them the touchdown, but say a safety would have occurred there, and then you're
even a punt deep from the end zone. I mean,
punting deep too. Up being absolutely,
like a 35-yard penalty to Montreal, but I mean, they're going to get the ball back still, move back.
Like, you could save some of that momentum in that regard, I guess, but
the Riders getting it to the 30 was absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial.
Very.
And I was really impressed with Trevor Harris. I thought their defense played well too. Thought Davis Alexander was, I mean, listen, the guy is awesome. First time he's ever lost a start before, which is incredible. I'm sure, in the aftermath, they'll be like, oh, he was at 70%. Like, the first pick that he threw, I don't know whether that was just a hero ball, or whether the fact of the matter is that his legs, it was just off. Like, normally that would have been a throw that would have been either bad decision. Bottom line is, bad way to start it off with that turnover right away. And then, he had another one later on in a pretty key time. But they kept fighting back. It's the CFL. I mean, the game was definitely not over. But by far the most memorable play of this game will be the Shea Paterson interception. And just to Moss's defense, it's not like this is a Montreal thing. I mean, hell, Brady Oliveira, there was all this stupid narrative like, oh, Brady Oliveira's gone 9 games without a touchdown. Well, every time we get it down to the 1, they bring in Sean McIndoe, or whatever the heck his name is, McGuire. We don't even remember him, and he led the league in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, 16 carries on the season, 12 touchdowns. Well, what a stud. He rushed for 15 yards in the year.
It's why we're thinking of we're thinking of making an amendment in our season-long Dunya League on having a roster spot for a quarterback that not a bona fide start. Well, I mean, if you want to start a starter in that position, you can, but it'd be high points for rushing touchdowns. Because, you look at the end of the season on the stat line, and there's a lot of those guys that are just, as you mentioned, carries equaling touchdowns.
Here's a question. Could they, while we're talking about changing rules and everything like that, you want to make something more exciting? Like, let's take out all of these sneaks. So how do you do that? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but it certainly would be, I think, a heck of a lot better and more interesting if when teams are down on the 3-yard line on a 2nd and 2, that they have all their regular offensive personnel in there. And the Brady Oliveras and the Ouellettes and the Stevie Scotts are getting touches in and around there and scoring. Or Trevor Harris or Zach Caleros is in the game and passing the football, as opposed to, I mean, you can just go grab a drink every time they bring the short yardage team in. I mean, pretty much successful every time.
Depending on the personnel, though. You got to have the right personnel. And that's why I don't like, again, you get a guy like Tommy Stevens who's a specialist. Well, yeah, that's what you do. I mean, it's like you bring in a punter who's really good at, either booming it or accuracy, one of the two. Well, you've then kind of dictated your game plan and how you're going to handle punting. But I just don't again. I don't buy the Tommy Stevens is a specialist. You know what's a specialist? Well,
anybody behind the Rider O line.
Sure.
You're telling me that if we didn't start putting Brady Oliveira or Ouellette and they learn how to properly take a snap, and those guys were in that position, they wouldn't be just as successful.
But as compared to like a Shea Paterson, though, right? Like there are some guys who can do it better than some other quarterbacks, and the
funny thing is, that's Paterson's first fumble of his career. Like, that's the crazy thing about it. Like this, I don't know. I mean, obviously that is just a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, and I don't have a good answer for it, but it was somewhat ironic that the Grey Cup in a lot of ways was decided because of my pet peeve blowing up in the face of Jason Moss when they had come all the way back in pretty amazing fashion in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. And then, again, we've seen the Rider D, and say what you want about Alexander and him pulling up there late or whatever. I just too, and Moss said it post game, football Huss and both NFL and CFL variety get to this stage of the year. Everybody's dealing with something. And, I'm not saying the decision to go to an MBT is easy or that he's on the same level as a Davis Alexander, but if the injury is such that it's more of a hindrance to your game, and it's that glaring where you can't run or you can't push off on certain throws or this or that, well, that's ultimately much like doing a Shea Paterson quarterback sneak. Your choice as a coach to say, hey, I'm going to go with this decision as opposed to maybe an alternative, which may or may not get you to where you're going. But it's a funny thing where you look at a game like this and say, well, if Alexander's hamstring or if they would have sent Scott instead of, Shea Patterson, but ultimately that's the choice they made and that's the bed they made and they got to sleep in it. But you mentioned turnovers. That's the thing. That was the big one. Penalties, as I said, too, it was pretty low key. 7 for 72 for the Owls, for the Riders, 2 for 8 for the Alouettes. So Andre Proulx did get involved a bit with his mic and such. There was a play in the final drive where I don't really know what happened. Everything stopped and there was just another play added. He's such an interesting fellow in big events. It's can't miss TV for Andre Proulx when he's on a game like that. But
hey, by the way, speaking of Andre Proulx, and I don't know whether this came across on the broadcast.
It didn't, but I heard it. I heard what you're talking about. But
national anthem. We're in at that point, I was up in the press box area.
Yeah.
And Katie St. Germain, really talented woman, did a couple shows. She did the media party.
She nailed the anthem from my point of view. I heard it all. Yeah.
And by the way, this is the Lock Shop, crushed the under. It was 90 and a half seconds was the over under. And she came in at 73. It was great. Just go out there, bang it out, classy, darn. But anyways, we're listening. And so she's doing the anthem. And all of a sudden you hear this like off key, sort of one guy. We're like, what is happening? And apparently they had Andre Prue's mic was live. And I guess he's an anthem singer. They're proud or whatever. So it was basically a duet in the press box between Katie St. Germain and head referee for the game, Andre Prue, which was quite funny.
Protect that man at all costs. As much as sometimes he is very entertaining, and he always looks like he's just working against it, hey? Like in any situation. 30 above, 30 below, Grey Cup game preseason. He's always kind of putting in an effort there. So that, I mean, what was the post? I saw you had a picture with Mr. Ritz Kraka. I don't know if that was pre or post, but after the game, I mean, partying up again or?
Well, I mean, I wasn't ready to go home. We jumped on the rapid transit and then went down to just kind of a bar like right by my place to watch the end of the Lions-Eagles game, which was terrible. Yeah. And then, you know, more and more Rider fans rolled in. It was kind of funny. Like, it's a big time Bomber and Jet bar, and it was all green last night. Tons of Lions fans there, I think, that were staying in the hotel. Yeah. But I'll be honest, it was really fun to see. I mean, we joke about the rivalry, everything. You know, I'm happy because it freaking matters in Regina and in Saskatchewan. And it matters to all those people. And, you know, that very much is good for the league to, you know, get the Riders back with a winning season. And, but it was fun. I mean, there was a lot of people, you know, I was there for a couple hours, and the later it got, the more kind of rowdy and fired up people were. I think right after the game, they were still a little bit in shock that it happened. But
yeah. I know I was. It was a lot of it was a sense of relief given how it did go later on, and then you just kind of relax into that relief. 13, we were all at a bar. It was a huge table. And that was a game too that was kind of out of sight before it even started in a sense, but a different type of celebration. This one, personally speaking, just given my life situation and such. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's nice to. It does matter, and you know, when you're you know, a Toronto Argonauts or whatever, where you might win once every 3 or whatever the case is, these do mean a little more in a sense that they are few and far between. You don't know when the next will happen, and so you just gotta enjoy it that much more. And doing it, Huss, my brother and I looked at each other, and you know, it's in Winnipeg. The only thing would be having that dressing room, though. That was the final piece, the final piece to that jigsaw that we didn't get.
That didn't happen. I guess we had that opportunity in 22 and blew it. Yeah.
And I will say this though too, Chaboy Zach Collaros. I thought he did an outstanding. I was watching him all weekend there on that panel. Like, I mean, he was. I know everybody talks about Bo Levi Mitchell, perhaps going to the booth or the panel or what have you post career, but Zach's got it going on there.
You know what? It was. I agreed. He was good. Him and Luke Wilson had, you know, a good little back
and chemistry.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot of it afterwards, but I was a little choked, to be honest, to see how good he was, because for the most part, absolute dud through the year. And I don't know whether this is the O'Shea effect or just the Bombers, but like they never want to say anything. They really get a lot of color. Like, he is not, like, put it this way. I'm not, when we're doing Winnipeg Sports Talk every day. Yeah. I'm not going like, oh my God, did Calero speak? What did we get out of back or whatever? Like, it's not.
I never would have thought myself.
You know, exactly. He's quiet. But I mean, I think you see from people around him and that are close to him, and when you do get away from the seriousness of the job as a quarterback, he's great. And listen, guy's got tons of experience. He's a champion, great looking guy. Buddies with the Kelseys, probably doesn't hurt in today's start. So for a long time, we thought Bo Levi Mitchell would already be in that spot like 2 years ago. Maybe Zach's the next one to come out. He signed for the extra year. Apparently he's coming back and to try to do it again. we'll have another Labor Day and Banjo Bowl if Trevor Harris and Zach Calero's going.
Apparently, yeah, and Mike O'Shea.
Yeah, well, that of course is the big news on Friday. Yeah, O'Shea and Walters coming back. It was a very weird week, I will say that. That's
because we talked before that was made official, I want to say. So I think we discussed the possible all that and heads turning in his meeting in Toronto. But I mean, yeah, I would agree that that's probably because there is unfinished business there. It's not everybody's saying, "Oh, this is the end of the blah 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 blah." Well, you could say they're maybe on the back nine, but there's still something very salvageable there with O'Shea, and he obviously sees that.
Oh, I mean, listen, if they can, it's the back nine of that group of players. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the coach, those guys, I mean, they're coaches. I mean, they're, we see guys that coach for a very long time with a great level of success at a certain standard. I mean, I think we do know that we're going to see more turnover from player personnel, and that I think is going to be the real challenge for O'Shea and Walters to kind of get that team back in a spot that they can be successful. But I mean, the whole thing, I just think that this last season was a real tough one internally with the high expectations of hosting the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
The disappointing performances on the field. And it obviously wasn't as rosy as it seemed for a long time. Like, I'm not going to say that there's probably still some hard feelings within the organization, but I think that what's happened this week changed things a little bit. So there's going to be a very clear, we haven't heard what the term is on the deal. It's probably a couple years, I would imagine. But there's more intrigue about Winnipeg going into this season than there's been in a real long time. I'll say that, even with those guys coming back. And listen, it's good that they don't have to go to the drawing board and figure everything out right away. But I think the fact that it happened the way that it did will have the Blue Bombers far more prepared in a year or 2 years to have a backup plan or another thing. Because the bottom line is,
right,
he didn't just take a phone call. He went there to Toronto, he met with them, and then sort of left them hanging for a couple days thinking that, he was gone. So I'm sure the offseason will take care of all of it. Their expectations, every one of those guys is really high. So it's a little bit a different neighborhood in the West Division right now with the Riders in the penthouse, and now we'll get a chance to go for it next season.
Well, and really stacked. We all know what the Lions are and what they probably will be. Rourke will not have his head turned. He's fully committed. He's all in. Bernard Adams Jr. still constantly with a chip on his shoulder. That defense, I thought, was lights out before a few injuries there as well. You mentioned the Bombers, you mentioned the Riders, then you got the curious question of the Elks. And I mean, the CFL, you can turn things around quick. And I think, this market hates hearing about patience, but I think with this group that they've got in right now, and you've seen it with players, coaches, a la O'Shea, a la Moss, a la now Mace, a Mark Killam seems to really be a guy who has a good reputation with players and a place where players will want to go and try their hand at success. So they had a few results this season, would have gone their way. Again, as I said, if they would have squeaked into the playoffs, that would be the team I would not want to see, just because, you're kind of just playing with house money there in a sense. So we'll see how much and if they can kind of build off what they did this season. But yeah, I mean, not a lot of room in the West, not a lot of room at all. What do you think?
Two things on that. First of all, I look at what has happened in Edmonton, and listen, they weren't terrible for a long time. They won in 2015. I mean, this is not like the 29-year Grey Cup drought for Winnipeg. But when Mike O'Shea took over the team was, in a lot of ways, one of the laughing stocks of the league. And I mean, I talk about the damage that Chris Jones era did to the Edmonton franchise. I mean, we saw it in the stands. You heard it on EST in the station beforehand. I mean, they just lost. Like, so many people that loved the league, loved the team, that were just like, I'm done. I'm not supporting these guys. So, I mean, there was so much work for this group to do. And when O'Shea and those guys took over, like the first couple of years, they weren't a playoff team.
Yeah.
They got a little bit more respectable. And then going into the third year, there was a ton of pressure. Like, oh my God, like, okay, something has to happen. So I liken the Elks in that spot next year. Like the Elks have to make the playoffs. Like that is, if they don't make the playoffs, it'll again be a tougher sell. And I mean, it's only the second year. It was not necessarily fair, but you know what I'm saying.
Right,
like that. But, you know, Bombers, they got to the playoffs and lost. They got to the playoffs, won a playoff game, and then lost. And then it was just step by step. And then you got to 2019. They were on the road. They made it happen. They won. And then 21 was the incredible season. And then, you know, it just goes to show how difficult it is to win.
Yeah.
Going to 3 and losing a row. But the West, and here's the thing for the Elks to know. Like, once you got down to the Final Four this year, I think it's very clear with what we saw yesterday. This is not a shot at the Riders. Any one of those 4 teams could have won the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still stunned that the Riders survived the West Final. And I'm sure you might be too. I mean, Nathan Rourke had 2 chances. The MOP, all they needed was a first down. We're not talking about they needed to go 80 yards and score. They got the ball twice in the last 3 minutes and literally needed to get a first down. Credit to the Rider defense for doing
best defense. Yeah.
The margin between winning and losing is so tight. And it was again yesterday. I mean, a quarterback sneak fumble on the 1 yard line, the difference? Like if that happens, which it does 99 times out of 100, it's a 2-point convert for the tie and all bets are off.
Yeah. But again, so you mentioned the Rourke thing too. It's defense making plays. Defense made a play on that sneak. And everybody always talks, parity. Oh, well, anybody that, and I hear what you're saying because I think that's, I mean, in a 19, in the end, and we'll talk NFL, but there's always, there's graveyards, there's garbage heaps where you can you can beat up on the poor and you'll see mirage records and all this. But again, to our example here, talking about the West, like if we think the Elks will take a step, which I think and hope they will, there's like who. Okay, so who's and what determines who's going to be the odd man or odd team out here? And then you look, okay, you can cross over, and I guess maybe there might be, we traditionally look to the East as having maybe 2, but somebody's got to lose. Not everybody can win, and somebody has to lose. But in that, I think, to your point, the parity, which some people say in this league, everybody, well, that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But again, when you have just 9 teams and there's nowhere to hide, it's better than having a team that's 2 and whatever or whatever the case is. If every team has a chance and every team can beat any team on any given day, well, that's ultimately what you want in a league of this size.
Well, what did they finish at? Were they 12
7 and 11? 7-11.
No, Sask.
12-6.
12 and 6.
Yeah. And then 3 other teams 11 and 7 in the Stamps, the Lions, and the Ticats.
Yeah, and Bombers were 10 and 8, not a particularly good 10 and 8.
Same with Montreal.
But again, it was so close. Like you have to be in to win. But I would argue, like you look at the West this year. I mean, Calgary was the long shot at the start of the year. They had a great season, and they pushed BC right to the absolute limit in the West semi. Like they could have easily won that football.
They could have won that, and I said, Huss, if they did win that, I would have picked them to beat the Riders in the West Final.
Really?
Yes. I was way more scared of them how they matched up against Saskatchewan than I was against BC.
Well, listen, I think BC, when you go outside to a cold venue, I mean, it's the biggest shock to the system for them. And, whatever, there's something to be said for that. But I guess the point is, like, the East semi was a razor blade margin. The West Final, a razor blade margin, and the Grey Cup, even though it doesn't look that way because it was an 8-point game. I mean, let's face it, we all saw what happened. Like that was right there to being a tie game. So it's what makes the Canadian Football League great. But if I'm an Elks fan right now, feeling good about the development that they've had, assuming that Cody's going to be back, there is no reason whatsoever that the Elks can't be right in. And I'm not just saying, maybe they can make the playoffs. Like, why not Edmonton to be the Calgary of this year? That
absolutely.
Maybe started off a little lower down that, 8 weeks into the season, like, wait a second, these guys are 6-1. Like,
yeah.
it can absolutely happen. So, I mean, like the Bombers are going to have their work cut out with just to keep up with the rest of the teams that already caught them this year.
Yeah.
So it'll be a fun offseason, and free agency, I think, is going to be fascinating this year.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. A quick shout. We haven't hit free agency, but Grey Cup 113. Who you got? Just in it. I don't need a winner, but.
Well, I mean,
I know things can change, and I know we're kind of far out. It's more of just a spitballing here. I'm going Montreal, BC.
Calgary. I was just about to say BC. I mean, I think it's inevitable. They have the best player. They have the best quarterback.
They got to hit it.
That team is going to break through. And you know what? I was going to say Montreal, and I think they'll be the favorite. I will go Ottawa.
Hot dog. I love it.
The Din Whistle rolling in as the head coach and GM. Hey, he's
the quarterback whisperer.
Guy. He absolutely is. Knows a thing or two. He's going to have control. He's going to have a team and a management group that supports him. I think he can make a big impact. So, let's throw it Ottawa, BC.
Love it. Love it, Huss. Week 11 in the NFL, if you want to switch gears here.
Thank God I was at the Grey Cup because I was merely following the Broncos-Chiefs game along. I'm now the Chiefs are in trouble. I can't believe I'm saying this.
Yeah.
And I will first to admit, I've told everyone that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest, blah, 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 for years. I mean, he's still my guy.
Well, you're not wrong there entirely. You're not wrong. And they know how to win. Like,
he got outplayed by Bo Nix yesterday, which is a statement I never thought would ever come out of my mouth. They just haven't been good enough right now. And like that win, and shout out Bronco Nick, I'm sure is doing a touchdown dance in the chat. He should be. The Broncos, basically, we can give them the West right now. I mean, that part of it that's weird is like with these teams that have good records, like New England, Denver.
The AFC playoff picture is hilarious.
Well, and all three of those teams have the most cupcake schedules because they sucked last year.
Yeah.
If you're sitting there hoping that, let's hope that New England can come down to earth. I mean, they got the Bengals, Giants, Bills, Ravens, Jets, Dolphins. So, okay, maybe they lose to the Bills and Ravens. Well,
that'd be 4 losses then. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Denver's the same thing. Like, it was only the divisional games that were going to be an issue for them. Well, now they've got the win against the KC. They got the Commanders, the Raiders, Packers, Jaguars, Chiefs, Chargers. Like, Chiefs aren't making up the difference against Denver. So, to me, first time in 10 years for Andy Reid, the Chiefs won't win the division. And now it's a matter of, can they make a wild card?
Yeah.
Well, right now for the wild card, they're behind Houston, I guess, just by tiebreaker. And they're 1 game back at Jacksonville. Well, bad news for the Chiefs. They lost to Jacksonville on that Monday nighter. And then, what do the Jags have coming up? Listen to this schedule. Cardinals, Titans, 2 games against the Colts, who have been good this year, and the Jets, Broncos, Titans. So for the Chiefs to make the playoffs, which, I mean, I will still say I'll have confidence in them that they will get it done. They've got a home game against the Colts. They've got to go to Dallas, home against the Texans, home against the Chargers, at the Titans. Let's suggest they got to win their next 5 games to get to 10-5. They then got the home game against the Broncos and then a game against the Raiders. Certainly doable. And, maybe, listen, if they can get it together and kind of wake up and, run in at, on a run, they'll be a dangerous team that none of these, like, new division winners, Denver, New England, like, they're not going to want to play the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Right.
But they got to get there.
You got to get, that's the first thing, yeah.
So I don't know. I was pretty rattled watching that, or following it at the end. And Although I do love, I've got ESPN right up here, and I haven't looked at this, but a guy that I often lean on for guidance, wisdom, and more, Stephen A. Smith, says that he finds it hard to believe that the Chiefs' reign is over. So you know what, SAS, I'm gonna stick with that. The Bombers' reign is over in the West, though. The Rider Nation, Riderville. They painted the town green last night, Eric, and I'm sure you saw the scenes in Regina.
Yep.
Are you from Regina?
Saskatoon.
Saskatoon.
Yeah. So we would drive down to games, stop at some bars on the way, and it was good to not be in the mix, but be slightly. The bus trips were great. I mean, that's what you want. You want a bit of the travel, not too much.
How long is that drive?
Like 3 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour with stopping and everything.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bus trips were electric, but yeah, no. Great. The gray is green, as they said. 51% playoff probability chance right now for your Chiefs, courtesy of NFL.com. 51.
51%. Well, we'll take it.
You got better than 49. Thoughts on the Monday Nighter?
I'll tell you what, Eric, I'm thankful. There is not, well, I shouldn't say this. There's probably a lot of people that, like me, need a full shutdown, potentially a rehab stint, to be frank. But
yeah, I need an organ transplant. All of them.
This Cowboy Raider game is not going to be getting me to the pub tonight. I'm going to be more than happy. In fact, I might even fire up Netflix and watch John Cena's last match.
Oh boy,
on Raw, as opposed to the Cowboys and the Raiders. I need to move on just from, as I say, congrats to the Riders. Grey Cup was amazing. That was my focus this weekend. My picks were terrible. The Chiefs lost to the Broncos. I want to leave week 11 of the NFL season behind me as soon as possible. And then hopefully these guys can get on a bit of a run with a really tough game against Indy next week.
A little chance though to put a little change in your pocket tonight too, though. I mean that's always the benefit of with Play Alberta and Game
true.
Sense.
That's
I mean,
great point.
If it's something you don't necessarily like, you can always maybe come away a little more flush in the account.
Well, and I did all week long. I mean, I was going to be betting Montreal, which I did. So obviously I took an L there. But I did make most of it back in I thought that Stevie Scott props for the Grey Cup were ridiculously low. Like I had him at over 44.5 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And his touchdown was like almost 3-1 plus 275. So it would have been incredible if they came back to win. It would have been a big time boost for the old account. But Stevie Scott managed to pull through, and it wasn't too bad. So interesting hockey slate tonight. Oil early game. What do you guys get that 5:00 puck drop?
5:00. There? Gotta love them. 5:00 in Buffalo. That's what the Monday Nighter right now. Oilers and Sabres coming off that big another overtime win in Carolina Saturday. So they're feeling pretty good. The only problem is, as somebody I think mentioned in the nasty chat earlier today, either a 5-2 Oil win or a 2-1 loss. And that's kind of the direction this team will take from time to time. So we'll see if they can build off of, I mean, it is Buffalo. We had Dreger on this morning mentioning points percentage, and only 5 teams are below that 500 when you talk about parity and such. But the Sabres are one of those teams, and probably rightfully so. It is pro sports, but it is a market and a roster of players that, even at this stage of the season, you do tend to think maybe don't have the gumption in them from night to night to squeak out a result. But
I've been waiting for Buffalo to be better for a while.
We all have.
Number one picks. They've got some good talent on the team. And it just, I mean, they broke their 5-game losing streak going into their win in OT against the Wings on the weekend. They had 1 win in their last 9 games. And it's sad. I mean, much like the Rider fans, we kind of like, listen, they've kind of stunk for a long time, or They had only won 4 times ever, compared to what everyone else has done. Like, at a certain point, you expect good things to happen to the most passionate fan bases. I mean, they've killed the spirit of the Buffalo Sabres fan with this. I mean, I think this is their 15th season. Like, if they miss, it'll be 15 seasons.
I smell a full rebrand. It's the only way out of it.
They could have. The irony of the whole thing is that people say, "Oh, the ownership's terrible." Well, it's the same people that own the Bills,
right?
And the Bills are great.
Yeah.
So no one can understand. But I mean, they went cheap. They hired Kevin from accounting to be their GM, and he's now been there for 4 years without any results so far.
And not even a sniff. You're not like you can't see progress, You'd like to think there would be, as you mentioned with some of the names, but it just ain't hitting.
You want to do up a little quick 3-gamer before I run here?
Let's go.
We like the Oilers tonight, right?
Sure, yeah.
I think normally we don't put the Oilers or Jets on the parlay, but I think in this case, with it being what's the number, by the way, on Edmonton?
Minus 154 on the line. Yeah.
Like, okay, that's great. Like, what? Anyways, I'm in on Edmonton. The LA Kings are in Washington. The Kings have been playing some very good hockey lately. They've run the table on this road trip.
Yeah.
Penguins, Habs, Leafs, and Sens. And they're playing big time. And Kempe just signed his 8-year deal, too.
Yeah.
Do we...
Plus 103 on the line.
Exactly. And the Caps have just won one of their last 5. Why don't we go with the LA?
Yeah.
A little plus money on that one. Okay, so we've got the Kings. And then... Habs at Blue Jackets, or do you want to go with the late game? Utah at the Ducks. I'll be honest, I've turned into a big Ducks guy this year. I love this team. They're so much fun. They had ran off those 7 in a row. They had a tough road trip. They just lost 3 in a row. And they're at home, first game back against the Mammoth tonight, looking to break that. Utah, for their part, has won 1 of their last 5. Who do you like, LTE? Ducks at home?
I love the Ducks, too. I thought they were pricks to end the season last year, giving a lot of people headaches.
Yeah.
Q's in there. And I know the L3 here is something, but they've still... I think it's more than a blip. I think they will be legit hanging around. And yeah, the Mammoth arguably maybe falling back down to earth here a bit in their past 10, playing 500 hockey. Yeah, I like the Ducks going back home for sure. I'm a big believer in them. It's fun to watch them, albeit in the Pacific. But that's a Pacific 3 there right there. So Oilers, Kings, and you're taking Ducks here as well.
Yeah, we just bang it out. Oilers, Kings, Ducks. It'll be like in and around plus 550. And then
minus 103 for the Ducks, yeah.
And we'll make it happen.
Love it. Ducks, right, Kings, Oilers tonight.
Get some rest tonight, and you can go to sleep knowing that you're on top of the CFL universe.
Well, actually, I'll be at Sully's Sports Bar and Lounge, Century Casino, Fort Road, for the Raiders and the Cowboys. So more highly processed food and maybe a drink or two. We'll see. Got to ease yourself off, and you can't just eliminate it completely.
Maybe if you're lucky, they can throw the replay of the Grey Cup on one of the screens there.
I'll ask. There's more than enough. I'm sure I can get one on there. Huss, thanks, man. Thank you so much. It was good talking to you.
Appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Andrew Hustler Paterson. There you have it. Winnipeg Sports Talk. Love talking to that man. Supersized Indiana Jones and the Nasty Fish and Chips. You know what? Big Uke. And if you are going down there tonight, you can join me once again, Sully's Sports Bar and Lounge. That's Century Casino, Fort Road, North Edmonton there, northeast. The boys had the fish and chip plate last week. It was Big Uke. It was Savage the Plumber and a pair of the Combine boys. 4-order fish and chips. You get 4-piece and a plate of fries. And I think it came to something like $20. I want to round up or round down there, a rough estimate, but looked like a hell of a plate. Boys downed them. Looked great. I might get on the fish and chip tonight. I usually keep it. I usually have my 3 or 4 plates that I'll flex in and out, but I might go fish and chips. Haven't yet at Sully's Sports Bar and Lounge, but tonight might be the night. Join me there. Loaded burgers are the special tonight, and those go down a dream. Free heated underground parking as well. If you're looking to ditch the coat and keep your Birkenstocks on like I am, no socks. And our last, we might have a qualifier Thursday, but you want to get in on this. Sully Sports Bar and Lounge giving away a trip for 2 to Las Vegas. You can catch the Raiders and Broncos in December. All expenses, trip for 2 to Vegas. Gotta love it. You may not like the matchup there, but it's a trip to Vegas. Your next chance to qualify is tonight at Sully's Sports Bar and Lounge. You show up, you get a ticket each quarter. Great chances of qualifying, and if you qualify, you'll be into the grand prize draw, and that goes down this Thursday. And I do believe the Thursday nighter is the Bills and Texans, so that should be a good one on a Thursday night. It should be an interesting one tonight. Can't promise good football, but it will be interesting. Of course, we will have Oilers Sabres on as well. So, as always, a carnival atmosphere guaranteed at Sully's Sports Bar and Lounge this evening. Is that the music? Oh, you're playing me out here? Okay, well, I want to thank producer YouTube Trev and Andrew Hustler, Paterson, Winnipeg Sports Talk. That's the Lock Shop. Dusty will be back tomorrow. He'll be live out in Devon there for Ben Stelter. We will start 11 all the way up to the Reed Wilkins Show live from the Devon Boston Pizza tomorrow. That does it for me. Lieutenant Eric, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning or tonight. Sully Sports Bar and Lounge, Century Casino, Fort Road. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Of course, the Lock Shop presented by Play Alberta. Those codes again, EST Sports, EST Casino for a $50 free bet.